Good evening and welcome to our Brunswick City Commission regularly scheduled commission meeting Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022. If we can all stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. We will have our invocation by Pastor Jeffrey Mutchinson of Calvary Christian Center, and he is also an esteemed head of our Neighborhood Planning Association for College Park and Magnolia Park. So we thank you for being with us.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for our mayor and our commissioners on tonight. And thank you, Lord God, for all of our citizens that are here for the business of the people. God, we just ask that you give them wisdom and guidance on tonight for our great city of Brunswick and our surrounding areas, where I know their heart is to make a better quality of life for our people or for the citizens of this city and the surrounding area. So we ask, Father God, for a spirit of peace, a spirit of love, a spirit of unity. All that is done in this session on tonight, all to your glory. In the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. We will now have the adoption of the November 2nd regularly scheduled meeting agenda. Do we have any motions for addendums or retractions?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a, oh, sorry. I'll make a motion that we amend the agenda to include Magnolia Park, College Park, NPA, National Neighborhood Planning Assembly, Chairman Jeffrey Mutchison to address the commission regarding flooding in Magnolia Park. Under item 3, update.
Oh, okay.
I made a motion to remove.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll move 3. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hearing a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes and the agenda is amended. Now, if we have no other changes, we have before us the agenda as amended. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the agenda is adopted.
Oh, we have one addition.
Oh, I apologize.
It's the mayor's birthday today. So happy birthday, Mayor Cosby Johnson.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all. We get to spend this together. There's no better place to spend my birthday. Yeah, no, please.
will not
That's
do
good. That's it. Thank you all so much. We'll now move on to public comment. Mr. Hillary to address commission regarding flooding prevention recommendations.
These are set really high. Is there anybody here that can adjust it? You turned yours off. Okay.
Testing. Mine's all right, I think.
How you doing, Ms. Hillary?
How y'all doing? Well, I worked at the pulp mill for a good little while, and okay. Anyway, we had trouble with issues with flooding. Okay, it didn't start till we put those drains in. All right, the drains. We had a flood. The first flood came so bad it covered a Honda Accord, and all you could see was the roof of that car, and all because the water backed up through the drains and flooded that parking lot out. Went on 3 times. Put me decided to put some check valves at the outlet of those drains. That allow that water to only run one way. It won't let it come back in there, whether hurricanes or no matter what. It would not let that water come back through the drains, give it a shortcut to our property. And that's what I'm here to fight for. That's what I'm here to try and ask with the commission. Try and help us get them check valves at the end of those drains and stop that water from coming. Cause like I said, when it got me, 2000, September the 16th, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I heard something outside, sure enough, it was out there. I put on my wave boots, went straight to that drain. The water was coming in from those drains. That's because the tide was high. And just like it did with the pulp mill. And all I'm asking is, if we could put a check valve at the outlet of those drains to stop that water from coming up back, taking the shortcut to get to my house. Because I live between G and H and F, G and F. Wasn't a drop of water on F Street. But my utility room was flooded out, 3, 4, at least 4, 5 inches of water, okay? And that's what I'm after. If we could at least make an attempt to stop the water from taking that shortcut to my house and flooding me out. That's what I'm here for.
I appreciate that, Mr. Hillary. I want to really quick before you leave, is there any questions from the commission for Mr. Hillary?
I live on Stonewall Street in the 1618 Stone. Like I say, I'm between F and G. And all those drains down, my mother lived in the in the 1500 block. They don't have the first drain, but why? Because when they engineered, I've been there ever since 76. No, 76. When they came and redid the roads, what they did, they designed that thing for the water to come to those drains. I understand that. But they didn't design that stuff for that water to back up through the drains and flood us out. We're working on the fire lines on Martin Luther King and Gloucester. All right, to do that, they had to cut that, they had to open up the fire thing on Lee, which is right. They stopped over Lee and Gloucester. They had to run that water. That water came from Lee Street down Gloucester to those drains. I even called the mayor and had him come take a look at it at the time, Cornell. I knew me classmates. But anyway, I called him and I showed him. I say, this is why. But thing is, that isn't what flooded me out. The water is designed to come to me because of that, because the drains are there. I understand that. And I can live with that. But what I can't live with is every time a hurricane comes through, it's gonna flood us out. Not to mention Dixville. Dixville is the worst. High tide is flooding them out. We're not really flooding them out, but you can see the water, the salt water. It ain't good to run through salt water with your cars because it's gonna dry, you know. But all I'm saying is we need help to try and stop that water from coming from the river to our property.
So, Mr. Berquist, can we check and make sure with Mr. Albertson about backflow preventers? Yeah, okay.
And like I said, the pump mill got all the information you need because like I said, that's what they did to resolve their problem. And that's all I'm asking. I was told that from a man that worked for the city. He said, we tried them flap valves one time before, but the flap valves are different from check valves. They're a cheaper brand, they're a cheaper thing. And salt water gonna take its toll on no matter what you get, you know? Even these, but the one thing about these check valves, they designed to take that kind of stuff. And they designed to take that pressure. Because we talking about 1,300 pounds of pressure we have on steam lines. I used to work at the pulp mill, like I said, this is part of my job, okay? And that check valve, if it can hold 20-something thousand pounds of pressure, it will hold that water. And it will stop that water from come flooding us out like that. FEMA done went up on me twice. And they're probably gonna do it again. But all I know is we need help to stop the water from invading our property. Because all you're doing is taking away. And the city, they don't even want to acknowledge the fact that my property ain't worth all it is because why? I'm in a flood zone. Not a flood, but not necessarily a flood zone. I say swampland, that's what I used, you know? But like I said, as long as that water coming through there and nothing to stop it. But like I say, with less than an hour, all that water was gone when the tide changed. All that water was gone. But F Street didn't have a drop of water on it, and that's what hurt me.
Well, Miss Hillary, I would agree with Commissioner Martin, what we're gonna do is immediately get your information to Assistant City Manager Berquist. We're gonna get you connected with someone from Public Works who can go out and immediately look at the exact spot that you're talking about. And that way we'll be able to give you more information about it and let you know how we're
It's
gonna move
not just
forward.
me now. We talking about Dixfield too now, because Dixfield lower than me.
Yeah, no, I think what's the most important thing is for you to show us the exact spot that you're talking about. and
Okay.
For us to have an understanding. So we appreciate you. Thank you, Ms. Hillary.
Thank you.
Moving on, the next we have is Ms. Jenna Lightfoot to address commission regarding funding for St. Mark's Towers.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's a pleasure to see all of you. I'm honored to be here and have this opportunity to speak with you today. For those of you that don't know, St. Mark's Towers is a nonprofit. We offer housing to those that are 62 and over, very safe and affordable housing. And we also offer additional services. Can you hear me? Okay, we also offer additional services to include a beauty shop, transportation, as well as planned activities. So basically, over the years, we have provided housing to those that may otherwise be homeless in this community. And I know homeless is a huge factor right now in this community, and we feel that we're supporting the homeless population by offering them safe and affordable housing. Our residents have really built this community. They have raised grandchildren. They cared for great-grandchildren. They've raised children, so on and so forth. They volunteer. They continue to volunteer, and they've worked hard their entire lives. And we're proud to serve them in this county as well as Brunswick. And I think it goes to show we have a 2-year waiting list. So that really goes to show that there's a need for the housing in this community. And we want to ensure that moving forward, that we're continuing to be able to offer safe and affordable housing. So when we were informed that there was opportunity for this grant with DCA in the city of Brunswick, we were really, really honored. And I feel that there's still a lot of work to do, but with this $6 million, it's a start for our residents to have a very bright future and future residents as well. So I'm hopeful that you as commissioners will consider approving this grant opportunity between DCA and the city of Brunswick. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Lightfoot, and thank you for your service. I've been able to visit with you
Yes,
all and see St. Mark's and all of the work that you have been doing. So
Mhm.
just want to say thank you and appreciate you coming before the commission tonight. If there's any additional questions.
No, okay.
I don't have any now, but are you and Mr. Smith going to stay through? Okay,
Yeah.
because I know we'll have some questions. then
Okay.
probably.
And hopefully we'll be able to answer those for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Wonderful. Mr. Smith.
I'll just keep my comments brief here. I am actually the board president and been that for a few years now, and just wanted to tell you how grateful that we are from the city, actually, for all the hard work that the folks have done to get us to where we are. It's been a long, long road, 4 years to get us to where we are to this point. And it took immense effort on their parts, and there certainly were ups and downs on our sides. And but we're very thankful for all the efforts that the city put into it. As Jenna shared with you, we serve a wonderful population that would otherwise perhaps not be able to have a roof over their heads. And we're a local organization. We're not some corporation that's housing folks, and we want to stay that way. Our board is invested in doing that. We've been approached by, you can only imagine how many people would like to buy that tract of land. And we're invested and want to do this, but we do have limitations in what we can do as a nonprofit. People just think the money's flowing through there, and it's hard to keep up, particularly when you've got 40-year-old buildings that we're trying to maintain there. So we're very grateful for you considering this, and hope that you will pass it, and we will be available here. And on behalf of the entire board, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Peter, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Jim Anderson was the architect for those buildings. Have y'all been in touch with Jim? through any of
Actually,
this?
not that I'm aware of. We've been working through Albert Shalander and the folks that were involved in that. And I think is it Mr. Yarborough? I'm not familiar particularly with him. I apologize for that. But we've been working with and communicating with those folks about it. I'm not familiar with the gentleman. My wife's an architect and I can't say that I know the gentleman.
I know Jim, knew him well, and I knew he moved down to Florida, but I
Okay.
haven't heard anything in years from him. He's a little bit older than I am.
Well,
just wondered-
it may be a wonderful idea to reach out to
Yeah.
him. We've got, Jenna can attest to it. We've got files full of documents from the original days. So it's amazing to look back at
I
that.
think it would be worthwhile. Jim's son did work out of the hospital, and his name is Jim Anderson also.
Okay.
So that would be a contact if Jim's still
Yeah,
out there.
absolutely.
But I'm sure he's still local.
I'm grateful for you for sharing that.
Sure.
Have y'all maxed out on your available land that you have there?
No, and that's a great question. Because of the HUD subsidy, we're limited in what we can do. I'll just share a little bit of it, and I don't mean to take up too much of your time, but this 4-year journey that we've gone through, basically the way organizations like ours have to deal with finances with an entity like this is refinance every 10 years, which is a rotten way to go. And you've got the banking institutions that are backing everything, and you've got penalties every which way but loose to refinance it, get money. I'll give a point just of mention here. A year ago, we were confronted with insurance rates going through the roof, no pun intended, in part because our roofs were not in good shape. And so we had to spend in excess of $350,000 to get that repaired, which we're grateful to do. But then we were like, well, where the money's going to come from? We've got other things that we have to maintain. And we communicated with HUD, Representative Carter. We went up and down the thing, and no one talks to each other. And we even tried to discuss at least getting a line of credit, so to speak, to build the roof, given the vast amount of property. And we were told through HUD, and Jenna worked the lines on that up and down. And we're always confronted with no. We even talked about trying to partition a part of the land off or something of that nature to use that as collateral, but just couldn't get through it. And so it's a very hard road to hoe. And part of it is we want to get away from having to refinance every 10 years. And, it's been a wonderful place for 40 years and we want to keep it that way, but we can't, as a board, we've made a conscious decision over the last few years that we don't want to have to do the refinance merry-go-round, so to speak. So hopefully we can become debt-free, and then we can expand because we've got the capacity to do it.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
We appreciate what y'all are doing, Peter, really do. And I'm happy that we're assisting you.
Well,
So happy.
very great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to consider approval of October 19th regular scheduled meeting minutes. Open it for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Here is second.
Second.
You have a first and a second. All those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Then consider approval of Community Development Block Grant Disaster Relief Subrecipient Agreement for St. Mark's Towers Project. Ms. Roxanne George. She online? Okay.
Hi. Can everyone hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, great. So, thank you so much, Mayor and Commissioners, for considering approving this subrecipient agreement. And I think that folks from St. Mark's have done a good job of talking about how important this project and this facility is to our community. So essentially, we are asking you to approve a subrecipient agreement between the Department of Community Affairs and the City of Brunswick. They have signed an agreement already that would award $6 million to rehabilitate St. Mark's Tower. That money will cover, we hope, replacement of all the windows with hurricane resistant windows, and also the replacement of the HVAC units in the apartments there, which are in need of replacement. And it will also cover our administrative costs of overseeing this project. So this is under the same funding source, the HUD money that was allocated for unmet needs from 2017 storms. And St. Mark's Tower did sustain damage from Hurricane Irma. They were able to patch up the windows that were damaged, and also the roof, but they did need to replace the roof, as was stated earlier, and they've done that. And now we need to replace those windows before another storm hits and puts people out of their homes. So that's the proposal. I know there were questions about how it would work with the money, and so I obtained clarification from our contact, Kathleen Tremblay at DCA. And the way this is expected to work is that they will allocate those funds, but disperse them in response to requests for reimbursement, or draw requests, as they call them. And they did say that they would consider, for large expenses, allowing us to request reimbursement before we paid them. And we're pretty sure that there will be large expenses like that, because whoever we hire as a contractor is going to have costs associated with getting the windows and other supplies that will be expensive. So I sent Naomi a sample of the format that we use to request draws. I know in the past, we were able to submit for expenses for the homeowner rehabilitation and repair program that we hadn't actually paid out because they were large, and had no problem doing that. But I will speak with Kathleen again this week and let you all know exactly what the method for requesting reimbursement in advance of issuing payment will be.
Thank you so much, Ms. George. We will now open it up for questions from the commission.
Well, I'll start then. I thought I'd sit back and let everybody else go first, but so as sub-recipients, y'all are equipped to handle all of the reporting and all of the requested information along the way. And I'm assuming that our city staff, Roxanne, et cetera, will work alongside of y'all to make sure that all of that is done properly.
Nelson, who's, I guess, the building department is supposed to be overseeing this. And as I understand it, there have actually been some potential contracting companies come in. Tim was working to get bids out there to get a GC that would oversee the matter, but then also he would have oversight and communicate with us as far as being a liaison. We have at least one board member that has, he's now a retired FLETC employee who has large building experience to help coordinate with that. So we have that beef as far as the board goes to assist Tim and whatever he needs, as well as Jenna, to provide guidance on
The
that.
ads have been running in the paper. There you go. Solicitations for.
Yeah.
For bids, okay.
And so I think Jenna, in fact, shared today, I think some folks were out there today taking a gander at it.
And I know this is a lot of material to read, and I probably overlooked this, but is there a spin down time?
There
on
are,
6 million?
yes, there are, I think that it's 3 years, but let me,
Because I know there's a lot of restrictions on what you can and can't do as far as the funding goes. It's pretty
Yeah.
specific. but-
What we had done is, and Jenna, I may get you. We had originally submitted an estimate. Who was the company that provided that?
Robinson Morton provided the original estimate, and it's been about a year ago that they did that. Initially, they did it with the roofs, but most recently they removed the roofs from their quote, and the quote was just over $5 million at that point. But we all know it with inflation, those costs have risen.
Was that primarily for the windows then, if it wasn't?
was for the windows, the P-TAC replacement, and I believe curtain wall repair.
Okay,
And I know DCA is very specific that that has to be done with this grant, because initially we had to remove the roof in order to get approval the second go around.
okay. And are y'all required to get a certain number of bids?
That would be a question for Roxanne.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
right, we are, we're following the procurement policy, and I don't actually think there's gonna be but for the city and for DCA for these HUD projects. I'm not sure how many Tim's gotten at this point, probably none, because the deadline is November 8th, and usually folks kind of wait until the last minute to submit, but I don't think we're gonna have trouble getting enough bids on this.
Okay, I just
And-
want to make sure we get competitive bids.
Yes,
I'm sure y'all do.
that's right. And they have specific timelines in the subrecipient agreement. So and we're gonna be fine with those. So we have to give them the signed agreement within 2 months, which we're just a few weeks into that. We have to conduct a mold assessment throughout the building within 6 months of the effective date of the subrecipient agreements. And we have to post the RFP within 6 months, select a contractor within 9 months, and draw down all of the funds within 36 months. So we're in good shape moving forward. And I think that I put out a request for quotes for the environmental work on this. And we're getting ready to put out a request for bids for the mold, because I think that's going to be a significant expense. It doesn't meet the level at which DCA requires us to do a competitive bid process, but it will, I think, come close to the $25,000 that is the city's amount at which we need to do a competitive bid process.
Well, I'm pleased for y'all. I'm pleased for the city. I appreciate what y'all offer to our community and the work and effort I know you've put in, because we talked many years ago about this and the condition of the building. So I'm glad we're at this point now, and hope that everything can progress forward in a very positive manner. Thank you. I don't know if y'all have questions.
Any additional questions? The only question I had was for Ms. George. I know you'll work with us. I thought Director Mills brought up a great point on the finance committee meeting about having just our schedule of whatever payments are coming out of the city's budget as a forward pay for these works correctly aligns with the responsibilities that we have going out kind of as a city as a whole. I know that there are some conversations of larger items or larger purchases that need to happen. So just knowing when those purchases are coming, knowing when the city's gonna have to put that money forward, and what is the average time that, you know, we're receiving those dollars from HUD, to make sure that we're not left kind of with a black hole in our budget, to make sure that we're doing that work ahead of time, so we know completely as close as possible. I know construction is very hard to keep on schedule, so I understand that, but as best as we can plan that, and I know Miss George, you're working on that, so if we can continue to work on that and maybe put a one-sheeter in front of the finance committee and us, so we absolutely know that schedule. That's the only work I want to continue to do on it after we approval. Any additional questions? If none, we are open for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Relief Recipient Agreement with St. Mark's Towers for the project.
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you so much for being with us. Next up, Officer Brown, we will have consideration of 12 alcohol license renewals and 1 renewal with violation.
Again, we have 12 alcohol license renewals and +1 with the violation. She is here tonight.
I will be honest, this is my first time taking a batch of renewals, so I will lean on anyone with historical references, whether we take these as a batch or one by one.
Well, the first question would be, since you have, and y'all are very good now at pulling aside the ones that have had any issues during the year, violations, et cetera, as a refresher. I'm assuming, since these are all coming forward as renewals with no further comments,
Correct.
that they've had a clean slate for the past year.
Backgrounds have been checked, as if we were doing a new license, the whole nine. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And historically, that is how the commission has taken them up, so that if you did want to do the renewals that did not have issue, you could do them all as one motion, which would be the renewal of, I believe it's 11, 12,
12.
I'm sorry, 12 at a time.
I'm happy to move forward in that, as long as we're making sure we're setting aside the 1 renewal with violation. So before us now would be a motion for the 12 alcohol licenses.
Correct. And you guys should have a list of those.
Mhm.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we move forward with approving the renewal for alcohol license as presented for the 12 different businesses seeking such.
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, that motion passes. And now we have 1 renewal with violation.
Correct. And it was for underage sales for striplings. The store striplings, and Ms. Medlin is here to represent for the store.
Perfect.
Can you give us some background on that, though?
So Brunswick Police did a sting or compliance check back in September, and we sent in an underage cadet officer to purchase alcohol. And the clerk that was at the counter that day sold to him, I believe it was a beer at the time. So, and they were cited. Ms. Medlin attended municipal court. It was October 5th. And she was fined as well. So now we're before you guys for a renewal, and it's, consideration whether you renew or you have questions for her as far as the measures that were taken to correct this mistake.
When was the violation?
When was it?
September.
In
September.
September 9th, I believe.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, hold on 1 second.
But there's no further issues of any kind other than just that one.
September 6th, I'm sorry. That's correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, officer. Ms. Mid? How you doing today? Wonderful. Number one, thank you for going through the process and meeting that head on. So we appreciate for the work that you've already done thus far. And yeah, you can tell us a little bit about what's happened
So we
thus far.
put plans in place. We spent about $3,000 putting scanners in. So when they, they sell alcohol or tobacco, they have to scan the physical license. So we did take the precautionary measures in place. So going forward, we shouldn't have any issues.
And I think-
That's what we like to hear.
I'm not sure who I spoke with. I think Stripling's contacted me the day after.
I did.
Yeah. And so I gave her a little bit of, again, the historical background as to like if it's the first time and what the city commission might want to see is in terms of taking the appropriate measures so that there won't be, and mistakes are always made, but sounds like they followed through with essentially everything that was offered up.
Any questions? I don't have any.
So what are our options then at this point, since there has been a violation? They have been very straightforward and proactive in taking measures.
That's correct. If you remember when we amended the ordinances in 2018, we did add a new provision for underage sales, which provides a discretionary measure that when an event like this takes place, it provides the commission a tiered system if they wish. The first offense is a $150 fine and a 6-month probationary period on the license. The second, 300, also 6 months. The third would be 750, period of 12 months probation. That said, under any circumstance where there's an underage sale, the city commission has the authority for non-renewal, suspension, revocation, and probation. We put that in place. I think if everyone, well, not everyone will recall, but at the time, we did have several violations, and I don't believe that the businesses were necessarily following through with remedial measures. So we had to make the ordinance have a little bit more teeth to address the situation.
Okay, so in this instance, it would be appropriate to go with the penalties, if you will, for a first offense.
This would be a first offense, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So the penalties have all been paid?
I believe the fine, they were levied a fine in municipal court, which I believe has been paid. So it leaves it to the discretion of the city commission as to what, there is some movement in there. Obviously, you can't go above what has been set forth in the ordinance for a first time offense. But you can take into consideration the remedial measures that the business has already put in place. And you can take into consideration of the fine in municipal court in your discretion.
Just for my information, we're quizzing you at this point. The fine that you're talking about, that's not the municipal court fine. That's a fine to the city, right?
That's correct. So there's
Okay.
a separate fine under this.
Separate fine.
Because technically the ordinance addresses the licensee, typically the ticket will address the clerk that was in violation of the ordinance. So there's sort of a twofold thing where the clerk will still, for example, there has been another case where the clerk came forward, was in municipal court last Wednesday. That case was adjudicated. That clerk took a training class online for underage sales, but that renewal is not before you yet. I'm sure it will come before you some point, probably this month or the next. And you have the same discretionary ability to say, okay, you paid your court costs or you've done these training classes. This is what we're going to assess the licensee as opposed to the clerk that was caught selling. So the easiest way to say this is the court looks at the actual offender.
Mhm.
The city commission looks at the business as a whole, the license holder.
And because I wasn't here when the ordinance was locked in, are the levels concrete and kind of stagnant in a way that right now they have done a wealth of remedial measures that has cost the business exorbitant amounts of money. So that's why the teeth for the dollars were put into the ordinance can you not levy that fine? Can you?
And
Okay,
that's why we wrote it as a may rather than a shall.
okay,
So this is the city commission may assess these and is for that very reason.
okay. Any other questions for Brian or? I will say I don't have a motion, but I will say the remedial measures that have been taken seems to clearly show that you have an intent to make sure that this never happens again. At the same time, you all deal with a high volume of beer and wine sales. So to put those remedial measures in is good. But not only that, I know that you all were taking all of the measures that you probably should have been taking before, and this was one slip up, and you're gonna get back on the right track. So I would hope that we wouldn't hit them with a probationary period or a fine, and know that they've taken the measures that they have and kind of continue on. So
I'll
And-
make a motion to approve the retail sale of beer and wine for Strickland's Golden Isles.
Can I make one comment, though? Can we? No, that's okay. I mean, I'm piggybacking on your motion, but adding perhaps to it that there be a recheck within 3 months.
I think that, I think in the past that's been a part of the motion, but I think it was 6 months. So,
Okay,
but it's, again, it's
we have the holidays coming up and there's gonna be a lot, so.
That's good.
that's good.
So you're amending your,
Yes.
okay.
right. And then it would be a renewal, so approval of the renewal.
Renewal.
license.
Mhm. I will second Commissioner Cason's motion with that additional within 6 months that they be rechecked.
Perfect. And we have that as a motion. Do we have a second?
That was my
That was the
second.
second? Okay, perfect. All those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you so much.
I oppose. I think it should have been a fine.
Oh, wow.
That's Commissioner.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you.
we'll now move to number 7, consider approval of financial reports as of September 30th, 2022. Director Mills.
Okay, we have before you the September 30th financial statements. We are at, this is the closing of the month of this current fiscal year ending June 30, 2023. You will see, revenues monthly over expenditure $4.8 million, year-to-date number of $4,008,000 with an asterisk next to revenues at the top. And I wanted to continue to explain to you why that is such a high amount. Government accounting standards is known as GASB requires that we record the income from our property tax billing in the month that we do the billing. And so that is the entire amount of that includes the entire amount of our property taxes that will be over this year. And you'll see, just give you an idea, at the bottom, the amount for those property taxes is $5,119,000. As of September 30th, we had collected $224,000 of that, which is not unusual because the bills had just gone out. We have some people which I've been early, people getting paid. And others late, and November 30th is the final day for the pay on time. So we'll see and have a lot more coming in of October, but just so you have some idea, that's why the revenue figure is so high, is because we're required to do that by gas and standards. We have $5,549,000 in cash in the fund. You can see our loss distributions for the month, we were up 15.7%. For year-to-date, we're up 10.28%. I like to know what the dollar amounts are. So for the month of September as compared to last year, that equated to $97,000 additional income. And for year-to-date, $220,000 $9,000 of additional income. I'm still reporting highlight alarm tax, although it's pretty insignificant as a revenue source. We were doing that in the past because it was fairly significant. But since the state of Florida has given the private side of how they're gonna do that, it's leveled off. We're down 14.69% from the year. We were up 0.78. That year to date is actually $15,000 less than it was year to date last year.
At what point will that just level out because of the change? I mean,
It should eventually,
Yeah.
because there's old vehicles. Pay this sales tax are collected at the time of the sale, but I guess there's always. I guess it will always maybe be a little bit, I'm just saying it go, you know. probably-
Yeah. Yeah.
On the next page, we have, clause 6, and if you look at the middle of the page on the left-hand side of the cash balance, a little over $3 million still in clause 6. If you look at that middle column, you'll see that on SPOS projects, we have expended $12.2 million of the 6 money. Totally on SPOS projects was 16.7 million, which is in that first column, and then that second column next to it shows how much we received from other sources. Some of that was grant money, and I have it all noted down there. Super scripts with ABCDE to show where the funds came from. We had some joint projects with the county. We had some joint projects with JWSC, and then we got grant money from DOT and other places like that. So that money is gradually being set down. You'll see right under the amount of cash on hand, I still show 400. For this line, 400 and. Or the two, ones with numbers is nothing allocated funds. So, you know, you're real clear on that, and sign out. Which was in those projects, overruns or whatever. Next page is clause 5, there's, still $1,370,000 set aside for the new fire truck that supposedly will be here in April. The Norwich funds, there's been no activity in that fund year to date, other than interest earned on the funds. We have a balance there of $339,000 in the bank. The Roosevelt Harris multi-purpose center, you can see we have inflows of $127,000, expenditures of $103,000. The main thing that I want you to be aware of on Roosevelt Harris Fund is a part of the revenues that are coming in are the monies that we are funding through the general fund. We have budgeted to come from the general fund to cover operations. So far, we have put in $95,000. Our budget for the year is $190,000, so we already got 50% there. But I do want to tell you that the money coming in from the CRC grants has been very slow, and so we expect this fund to start rolling in much quicker. I guess, you know, their fiscal year takes them a while for them to get their funds on in. So that we'll see that start taking care of itself there. We won't have to do as much money, you know, that will go in at budget. The bottom has the ARPA fund. You look at the very center there, you see our cash balance is a little over $9 million. That's the 30th. We have expended $267,000. Most of that is on back to business Brunswick loans. And you can see underneath the cash balance, we have preliminary allocations for different areas. Those are allocations that are preliminary. They have can change. They're not appropriated specifically, but they are what we are anticipating spending those funds on as we go along. Next page is the sanitation fund. We'll see we have total revenues of $395,000 and expenditures of $313,000. The sanitation fund also those revenues were billed as the stormwater, those fees were billed on property tax. But because stormwater and sanitation are proprietary funds, which means the goal for those funds is that they're servicing, the fees for services will cover the expenditures for services. We don't record that revenue all at once, when we do bill on those, that money goes in as it's collected, so, to give you an idea there, so we have built a lot more than that, but, we will record that as it's collected. There's a cash balance of 51,000 there, and I said we'll start paying this rolling in, and we collect the fees off of the property taxes, particularly in October and November. We still have 195,000 in that we want to visit the landfill, secret landfill, and that ever gets closed out, we'll leave that money back into sanitation, ready for the trash pickup, $128,000 for the month, it's a year to date. That number stays around the same, $128,000 to $130,000 a month for the trash pickup. Stormwater utility, there you'll see very light collections for the month of September. And I do want to make a note, you see there in the revenues, because this is the first month of that year, we have that GPIB note for $1.5 million that we have drawn down at that point, $284,000. There's an offset on that in the expenditures where the infrastructure is paid for with the GPIB note that is the same amount, and they offset each other. So we have a cash balance of $358,000 in stormwater utility. Additional information is $3,530 spent on traffic control expenses, and that is for getting requested control box at L and MLK, lightning damage, and then on the recreation department. In the aquatics department, it's $9,532 spent, and equipment in the main building for those two items were, we bought refrigerators for both the aquatic center and the aquatic park, and also the regular building. And they were like part of the refrigerator. Resident Arts Center remains around the same, so the total expenses were $10,000 for the month. Year to date, we're at approximately 33,000, so that runs about 10,000 months, so it's stayed roughly the same. You have the questions.
Any questions? I only have one. You said something was, the traffic signal box was struck by lightning, and we spent, I forgot how much you said, $3,000 some odd dollars. This may be a reoccurring question for me. Why is that not the county's expense?
Yeah, seems like it should be based on lost agreement.
I have to go back and look at the specifics related to it.
I mean, I know, well, I think that's the litigation. I know that was.
Right, over 500 come to us.
Yeah, but, assistant finance director, see if there, I will assume you probably insurance.
That was my question. My next question is, was it insurance related, and that's why?
It doesn't cover materials.
Yeah.
It-
probably such a small,
Yeah,
that it wouldn't cover it. I'll check.
it's the same way with Howard Coffin Park.
If that's appropriate for the county to
But there-
pick up,
the county, okay.
that's part of the lost.
Same way with Howard Coffin Park.
But that's why I asked about the crosswalk for,
We'd have
Okay.
have to go back and just look at.
because it was my same question with the crosswalk at Mary Ross. When that went out, initially asked where pedestrian crosswalks belong to the city, or is that under the county agreement? But I think under what we read, it was under the county agreement, so we shouldn't have paid for that.
I don't, you know, I remember when I read the agreement back before, there was a lot of discussion about the recreation part.
Right.
But I don't remember there being a lot there.
Thank you, thank you. I don't have any other questions. Open for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the financial report as of September 30th, 2022. As presented.
Hearing the first, do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing the first and the second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, motion passes. We'll now move on to consider approval of resolution 2022-11, authorize additional accounts to be invested in the Georgia Fund One. Recommends.
Okay, if you'll remember, and I put a little bit of this you can hear, that the former, back in March of 2018, we started investing in Georgia Fund One. And Georgia Fund One is a, like a pool investment that's handled by the State Department of Treasury and allows us to pool our funds with other institutions and therefore earn higher rates. The yields that have been offered in the past year or so since COVID happened, so I guess it's about 2 years now, have dropped dramatically for the platform. So basically we moved almost all, basically we moved all of our money back over to Prime South. It was earning more than the rate protecting. Just to give you an idea, in January of 2022 this year, Georgia Fund One was paying 0.06. Yeah. And then February went to 0.09, March it went to 0.17. Then I didn't write all the ones down, but it was in September, which is when I started moving money in August and September. Georgia Fund One was at 2.37, and the bank was at 0.875. I just saw the yield with for October, from just based on what the yield was for October, it was 2.87%. And so,
At Fund One,
yes. And so, the good thing about Georgia Fund One, although it is not a secured fund, like if you buy it, but the funds are invested very, very conservatively.
it's not FDIC insured.
But it also has a great deal of liquidity. If I call by 2 o'clock or go online and do a transfer by 2 o'clock, I can get money the next day, or be in our account the next day, or they'll draw it out and invest over there. So it's very liquid and I can move it as I need to. The thing is, when we add additional accounts to it, we have to do an entire investigation. You can't just say, I'll add this account. And we right now we have about 18 checking accounts or bank accounts that are covered under this program. But there's a couple other ones that we've added over the last couple of years, but they weren't really material, and of course they don't pay anything anyway. But now we have those ARPA funds, and so I would like to be able to move some money over there, and in order to do that, we have to do a new resolution, which we needed to do with the mayor's change. So we need to do that new resolution. We can add the retro accounts we have that we want to have the capability of using. I don't intend to move the entire $9 million because there are other opportunities out there. One thing we can start to do some rapid CDs that we have 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, depending on how we intend to disperse those funds. And then of course, we're doing the project with St. Mark's, we have to have some liquidity there to have do a new resolution before the fund one, so we can have it all. And there, mayor put on as the, the primary contact. All of that's done electronically now, so that's why I don't really put much else in the form. So I'm still waiting, y'all wait till we got the approval, and then I'll start that ball rolling. It's all done online. And nobody has to notarize your signature online, that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm asking to get to the increase.
It's interesting that they won't let you amend the resolution. I mean, I could understand if maybe every 3 years or, you had to go 4 years based on terms. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I know I don't have any questions. I want to say thank you. I know when I first came in, you and I started looking at that account and you were swift to move it away when the numbers didn't make sense, but having that open door to be able to go back down, that they definitely do make sense, and that liquidity definitely is a smart move.
You could ask me a question for finance. The fee that your fund earns and the percentage that I'm giving you are after the fee is taken out.
Okay.
So that fee that they're earning is 1.88% of the interest we earn.
Gotcha.
So I think this has to be earned like $24,000 of interest, and it's $400 and something and the fee that.
That's better than less than 1%, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot better. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2022-11 to authorize additional accounts to be invested in Georgia Fund 1.
Second.
Here in the first and the second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you. We will now move on to number 9, which it says is me. So due to, and we are open for discussion, please feel free, let me know if this doesn't work. Myself and Commissioner Roll will be attending the National League of Cities Conference during the week of November 16th. During the week of our November 16th commission meeting, we would like the commission to consider rescheduling the November 16th meeting to November 21st. I'm happy to have any discussion. If it is not able to be done, I'm also more than willing to call in through Zoom or be available, but this is just us putting it forward for discussion.
So Monday, November 21st,
Yes, ma'am.
and we would not meet on November the 16th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't have any objections. I don't know about Mayor Pro Tem or Commissioner Casey.
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioner Casey. I'm not sure if this is something that has to be approved. It does have to be approved. Okay. So fully open for comment, but if not, I'll open it for a motion.
Johnny, are you okay with that?
I'm fine. Like, we cancel the meeting as far as I'm concerned. No, there's some logic to it. I'm not being flippant, so help me, I'm not, but we've got a lot of vacation time on the books, and this would allow folks, if we don't reschedule, we cancel the meeting to take some vacation time and take it off books. It's just something to consider.
I agree with Johnny.
But we don't take vacation. Yeah,
It is that.
I mean,
It is that.
yeah.
Just something to remember when we have something like this.
I agree.
Staff has to be prepared for these meetings. So, if we find a place in there, we can work off some debt from taxpayers. That's my motive. But I'll go along with rescheduling, and that's a good consideration.
Have you been able to talk to
I'll second
Mayor Pro Tem offline at all?
You did just.
She said she agrees.
Okay.
Motion
I
is
believe.
All right, I'll second the motion to change the November 16th meeting to Monday, November 21st.
Perfect.
Yeah, you made it. I'll second it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Having a first and second, all those in favor, show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. City Attorney Corey, executive session? No executive session. With that, I will open for a motion.
We adjourn.
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor, show by aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, hearing none, the motion passes. We are adjourned.
Okay.
I thought we might get an update today.
I agree.
Really,
I agree with you.
consider, remember that.
Oh, you mean lucky there?
It would save a lot of money that folks will